بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على نبينا محمد وأهل بيته الطيبين الطاهرين اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد وعجل فرجهم. So we were talking about the sorcery in the book Greater Sins. So we were saying that the author says if someone's willpower is extraordinarily strong, it might influence the psyche of another individual and create the desired impression on him also. That impression might or might not depend on fulfillment of certain conditions. Um, so like he starts describing something vividly and then it makes an impression on that person as if they are seeing that person. They describe certain things about them. For example, I'm thinking, and then it's as if they see that person. They get them in a very emotional state, and then it's like they're seeing that person, but it's part of their imagination or a type of illusion. So he says, from what we discussed last week, we can deduce the following three principles. The first one, the appearance of such extraordinary events depends on the firm knowledge and strong conviction of the doer, but it is irrelevant whether that knowledge is true to the fact or not. That explains why the conjurations of the priest, of the sun god, and the moon god or goddess seemed to work, although they believed that the heavenly bodies had souls, which they claimed to bring under by their magic. Probably the same applies to the angels and shayateen, whose names are discovered and invoked by many practitioners of the magic art. The same is true for spiritualism and its seance and spirit communication. And the spiritualists believe that the spirits attend their sittings, so they have a firm conviction that they are there. Utmost that may be claimed regarding those sessions is that the spirit appears in their imagination, or let us say, before their senses, and this perception emanates from their firm belief in their art, but it can never be said that the spirit actually presents itself at the sittings. So he's saying there's no real proof that there's an actual spirit in their group, but they believe it so much that they think that it is happening. Otherwise, all the participants in the sitting should have perceived its presence, because every one of them has the same senses as the medium does. So he's saying maybe all of them, if this medium is there and saying, "Oh, I can talk to spirits," that all of them have the same capability of the senses, so they should all be able to see that spirit that they conjured or that dead person that they conjured up and say that they are talking to them, but they don't have the firm conviction that the doer does, the doer of the action. So that's the reason why they say that they can see it, because they have a higher firmness of belief. He says, but accepting this principle, we may solve many problems related to the seance and spirit communication. For example, sometimes the spirit of a living man is called to present itself at a seance, and supposedly it comes there, but at that very moment, that man is busy attending to his affairs, and he never feels his spirit leaving him even for an instant. The question is, as a man only has one spirit, how was it possible that his spirit presented itself to that seance without being aware of it? So this is for those who say that they can conjure and call the spirit of a living person. He says the spirit is an immaterial essence which has no relation whatsoever with space and time. How can it present itself at a certain place at a certain time? Why is it that often a single spirit appears before different mediums in different forms? Why is it that sometimes when the spirits are called to a seance, they tell lies and give wrong answers? And why do the various spirits sometimes contradict each other? So he's saying, like, from the information he's gathered, these are some of the wrong ideas that, like we can say, like, flaws in their practices he's bringing them. Say, okay, you said the spirit gave us wrong information. How come? Or how come it's coming in this form or that form and not this true form? He says all of these problems will be solved if the principle is accepted that it is not any spirit that presents itself to the seance. It is only the firm belief and conviction of the spiritualist and his medium that is at work, making the medium see, hear, and feel the spirit. It is all a play of his imagination and will and nothing more. Second point, he says, some of the people holding the strong and effective willpower rely on their own power and their own being in bringing about the desired effect, the intended supernatural event. Such events are bound to be limited in strength, combined in their scope, in their own imagination, as well as in reality. So that's why maybe we see that some of them can do this sometimes, and some of them say, "Oh, I can't do this right now," because maybe they can't concentrate and get that, focus and use their willpower to conjure something in their mind. It's like a hallucination of themselves because they believe in it. Said on the other side, there are some people like the prophets and awliya Allah who, in spite of their most effective willpower, totally rely on Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. They truly worship in and have full trust in Him. They don't wish anything but from Allah and by His permission. Theirs is a pure and clear will, untainted with any personal feelings. It doesn't depend on Allah. It does not depend except on Allah. This is a divine will, not limited in any way nor restricted in any manner. So it's different than them relying on themselves because they put their trust and reliance on Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. He said the supernatural events that are brought into being by the first group may be of many kinds. If they are based on inquiry of or help from a jinn or a spirit, then it is called kahana or divination, soothsaying, fortune telling. And if it comes about by means of a charm or amulet or talisman or other such instruments or potions, then it is called magic. He said the supernatural events shown by the prophets and saints are also various types. If it's produced as a challenge in order to prove the truth or the claim of prophethood, then it's called a miracle, like a mu'jiza. If it's not offered as a challenge, then it is named as karama, which means nobility in Arabic or sign of honor. And he says in Islamic terminology, it's used for a miraculous event shown without any sort of challenge. And if it happens as a result of the prayer of Allah, then it's called like just as an answer to dua. So we see like miraculous things from individuals, awliya Allah, people like Abu Fadl Abbas, Sayyidah Zainab, Fatima Ma'suma, and we see these things like miracles happen on their request and things is karama. It said the third, where we see like mu'jiza is more from Prophet and Anbiya. When, for example, with Nabi Musa alayhi salam, when he threw the staff down and it swallowed the other snakes, well, what appeared to be snakes of the magicians. That's another thing where it says like a power of imagination because those things weren't snakes, they were ropes, but they made themselves like in a way like a snake. So it's a type of an illusion, not that they actually turned into snakes. They just appeared to move in the way of a snake. So maybe from a distance, it seemed like they were snakes, but they really weren't. Third thing, as the whole thing depends on the willpower of the doer, its strength varies according to the strength or weakness of the will. That's why I was saying earlier, some people may have stronger willpower than the others. Some people may be only to do small things, some do bigger things. Depends on their willpower. Says that is why some of them may nullify the others, as for example, the miracle annihilates sorcery. Also, a weak agent fails to impose his willpower on a stronger psyche, as is often seen at the sessions of mesmerism or hypnotism or seances. So maybe the person's willpower isn't strong enough to convince somebody else, and they just say, "Oh, these things are fake and these things aren't real." So they don't, their willpower isn't strong enough to convince the other one, so they don't see it or they don't believe in it. He said there are many different fields of study dealing with various awe-striking feats and extraordinary deeds, and it is very difficult to classify them so as not to leave anything out. But he'll give a few of the branches that are commonly used in the type of magic. So the first one he calls asemiya. It deals with the ways of combining the willpower with particular physical and material forces for manipulating the natural order thus producing extraordinary events. He says, under this type of thing comes manipulation of thought, also known as the eye enchantment, or what people say maybe like the evil eye, these things. He said it's the most deserving candidate for this type of magic. The second one, Alimia, it teaches how one may establish a connection between his psyche and the higher and stronger spirits, in order that one may bring them under his control. For example, the spirits of stars or jinns or these type of things, he says. So this is where they can communicate with jinn and these things, and maybe get some sort of hidden information that others aren't aware of, and it makes them seem like they are more knowledgeable than others because they have secret information from jinn or these type of things. Third one, alchemia. It explains how the powers of the higher spiritual world may be combined with the base elements of this world to produce awe-inspiring effects. It's also called the talisman. The stars and their configuration have some relation to the material happenings of this world, in the same way as the elements and compounds of their physical qualities affect those phenomena. Supposedly, if the heavenly forms pertaining to a certain event, for example, a person's life or another person's death, could be combined with the relevant material forms, the desired effect would take place without fail. So there's some type of things where they can tell the life or the death or these type of things. So another type of magic. They use different things that have talismans and use certain elements from the earth and can conjure up some talisman. Other one, Aramia, it trains one how to control and manipulate the qualities of various things to produce seemingly supernatural effects. It is also called Ashabada. So it's called like the sleight of the hand or tricks of the hand, we can say, this type of magic. These four fields of knowledge, together with the fifth called alchemia, alchemy, the forerunner of chemistry, primarily the attempt to transmute base metals into gold or silver, formed what the ancients called the five secrets, or these mysterious branches of knowledge. Says Sheikh al-Bahai said the best book on these written on these subjects was the one I saw in Herat. Herat is in Afghanistan, called Kula al-Sar, or the head's cap. Its name was an acronym made of the first letters of the five subjects, which we named Kamiya, Lemia, Hemiya, Simiya, and Remiya. These names, it was like an acronym for these. He said the standard books on these subjects are the epitome of the books of, name some different types of books of magic, supplementary of the above and the following subject or the following subjects. The knowledge of numbers, numerology. It shows the relation of numbers and letters with the desired effect. The relevant numbers or letters are filled in a magic square or a triangle in a particular sequence. So if they do these type of things, there is some sort of effect that they can make if they put these certain numbers and certain letters in certain shapes and things, and maybe in certain times, and the moon is in this phase and this other thing. It's some sort of art that they know of, the magic art, and they can produce an effect out of this thing. And this is all in those dark arts and that type of knowledge, which we don't know about because we're not involved in those things. So he says the other one is the hidden knowledge, al-khafiya. It breaks down the name of the desired effect or other relevant names and finds out the names of the angels and the shayateen managing the said effect, and then composes the invocation made of those names. So they try to communicate with shayateen and these things to get secrets and other effects. The next one is soothsaying. He said to predict future events is known as divining, and when the prediction is made on the knowledge obtained through some groups of jinns, It is known as kahanat. He says we'll use the word which is equivalent to that, which is soothsaying. It pertains to the prediction of future with the help of special knowledge. For example, the soothsayer may be adept at guessing the words of the inquirer or his private affairs. According to the author of Nahaya, this kind of soothsayer is known as araf. But according to the majority of scholars, a soothsayer is the one who predicts and help with the help of the jinns. So he gets information from the jinn by some sort of communication with them through these dark arts, and then he can predict future events to people, and then they come to him and they or her and they ask for advice for future. The jinns inform him of hidden matters. For example, he might be able to find where a stolen thing is hidden, or who is the thief, or who is the murderer of some person. All the jurists are unanimous in their opinion that this soothsaying is haram, just as it is haram to learn, to teach, or perform magic. In the same way, it is haram to learn soothsaying, to act upon the advice of a soothsayer, or even to go seek the advice of one. Even if someone is doing this in like a joking way, it's still haram to do this. He says that scholars say that the soothsaying is a type of magic. And we have from Imam Sadiq alayhi salam, one who divines or the one who goes to a soothsayer for divination, both have renounced the religion of Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa alayhi. Haytham inquired from Imam Sadiq alayhi salam. He said, there's a person who we know who informs about stolen property. Is it permitted for us to go ask his advice? Maybe he knows how to get that stolen goods. The Imam said, Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam mentioned that the one who goes to a sorcerer, a soothsayer, or a liar and testifies to what he says has become a kafir in light of all the divine books revealed on Allah's messenger. So it's a serious offense to go to these type of you know, people who tell future, those tarot card readers or the people who read your palm and all of these other things. To go to them is like kufr, basically, according to imams. He said the Sheikh comments that according to this tradition, informing about the hidden matters is haram, whether through divination or otherwise. However, if someone guesses and conjectures or doubts, it is allowed. So it's saying like they're just guessing about something may happen. You would say, oh, maybe, this guy is gonna, you see that there's a bad lady and the guy is gonna marry this bad lady. And you say, well, the end is not going to be good for him because the lady is bad. Or the same, a lady marries a guy that is bad. You say, oh, they're going to come into a lot of hardship. It's sort of like you're telling the future, but you're not telling it on certain with certainty, or that you got some secret knowledge from the unseen, or that you spoke with some jinn or something like that. But it's just guess and conjecture based on calculated things that you've seen before in the past. That okay, if someone goes and marries this type of individual with these characteristics, it's probably not going to end good. But it's a conjecture and a guess. It's not concrete. This is not fortune telling or, future, predicting the future or something like this.
So is istikhara, or does it fall under this
No, because
guesstimate?
istikhara is seeking from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. These people are seeking, it's a way that is taught to us from the Imams. And these people are, not relying on Allah, and they're relying on seeking information from jinn or some other dark magic. They're
Yeah.
relying on their self and not relying on Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala.
So
Yeah.
istikhara is
So
by
this is
one
some
person.
other type of
Yeah. Because
Istikara is for when you are not sure about a matter and you're confused. Not like to do istikara if you want to go outside today or not, or you want to eat the biryani or you want to eat kebab. It's just like if some people do it for everything, but istikara
yeah.
is like, a big thing. Like if you confused, should I do this thing or should I not? Like, should I buy this house? I don't know. Maybe it's good, maybe it's not. You're like really uncertain about it. And then you
Yes.
do istikhara, if it's good, But if you're sure that the thing is okay, you don't need to
Yeah,
do istikhara.
definitely makes
Like
sense.
if someone wants to marry a person and they feel good about it and they feel certain and their qualities are good, they don't need to do istikhara to marry that person.
I
But
see.
if there's some other things that are they are doubtful about the person, if it's good or not, then that's different. So it's only when they're doubtful, and it comes from the teachings of imams. We have like different ways from Quran to do it, or from tasbih, or there's some other methods to do it. But it all
Sure.
relies on Allah, and it came through a pure chain, not these
Yeah,
other people are
yeah. Thank
trying
you.
to communicate with jinns and other stuff. Yeah. Okay. He says the Sheikh comments, when he says the Sheikh, he's talking about Sheikh Tusi. So the Sheikh, because this is the author of Nahaya, the Sheikh comments that according to this tradition, informing about the hidden matters is haram, whether through divination or otherwise. It says Imam Sadiq alayhi salam considers soothsaying a prohibited profession and also considers the earnings of that to be haram. Because the profession is haram, then the earnings are also haram. So Amir al-Mu'mineen also has narrations similar to that. He said, we must understand that the prohibition of soothsaying is beneficial to us. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala does not wish to people to have the knowledge of the future. It's possible that a person may come to know of something of tremendous importance, which will take place in accordance to his wishes, but their happening may be dependent on something else, on him giving sadaqah or making dua or something else. Having this knowledge beforehand may prevent the person from giving sadaqah and asking Allah. So, uh, let's say uh, if we want to prevent a calamity or something, we give sadaqah. Inshallah, the calamity is prevented. But if we know already that the calamity is not coming to us, then we'll say, well, maybe, I'll keep that extra money in my pocket and I won't give it for sadaqah. Or we want to get a hajat answered, so we say, well, I'm going to read Ziyarat Ashura for 40 nights, and ask Allah for my hajat. But we know that the hajat is coming, then we say, well, no, I don't need to do anything. For example, someone wants to have a child and they may make another to do something. But if they know they're going to have a child, then maybe they won't do the another, or they won't do the good action, ziyarat, or other things that they want to do, or they won't make dua and ask Allah for those things. So he said it's better for us not to know. He says, similarly, he may come to know of some calamity is to befall, and this will cause him great anxiety while in reality, this happening may not occur at all because of the change in Allah's ordinance, like bada may happen. So maybe he knows that something bad will happen if he knew the future events, and he's just worrying about that all the time. But this thing may not even happen because maybe something is written for you, na'udhu billah, a tragedy may be written for us. And it's written, but then we do something to change it. We do sadaqah, and Allah changes that thing into some, averts that calamity from us because we gave sadaqah. So it fell under the ruling of bada. He says it's well known that many calamities are warded off by asking Allah or giving sadaqah or due to some good actions of the person or repentance. We can recall the people of Prophet Yunus who were subjugated to great disaster. The tragedy was coming for them. They saw it. They saw the cloud and the storm and everything that was going to destroy them. But their dua and their tawbah, the author says at the 11th hour, like at the last moment, it changed and the calamity was warded off from them because they all came out and they made dua and they did tawbah and istighfar and asked Allah to remove this from them, that they will do the right thing, and they accepted Nabi Yunus alayhi salam. So Allah averted that from them. It says there's a tradition in Ihtijaj of Tabarsi from Imam Sadiq alayhi salam. The gist of it is as follows. After the birth of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, the shayateen and the jinn were denied access to the heavens. Hence, they were unable to give information about the heavenly affairs. Now they could only inform about the evil magical matters. This information is unreliable because among the jinns too there are liars as well as there are truthful. So the fortune telling of one of these people is unreliable because the jinns they have good jinn, they have bad jinn. You know, the bad jinn we know are titled as shayateen. They also have a good jinn as well. Um, so they could get information from a liar that just tells them something and then they pass on wrong information. None of this stuff is reliable. And honestly, I don't know why people go to these people. You know, I remember as a kid, people would call they had all these things on the TV channel. I don't know, you probably remember them. It's like psychic hotline, call like, you know, whoever these people are, and then 1-800 blah, 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 or 1-900, and they would charge money for these phone calls. So the, the guys, I remember in the middle school or something, and they would call and they say, the psychic, and they said, well, what's your name? And they said, well, you know, you're a psychic, you should be able to tell me what's your name, so you must not be a good psychic, you know. Just mess with them and then they would hang up. But you know, these type of things, a lot of time they're looking at, they know how to read people and tell the situation, and they say, oh well, they see that obviously they're unhappy when they come to them, you know. So there's something bothering them about. So they say, oh, you're unhappy, aren't you? They say, yeah, how do you know? It's like, okay, I know because you came here, you're unhappy, you know, with something. They said, oh, you're looking, they say very vague things, you know, like you're waiting for something great in your life to happen, but it didn't happen yet. And you want to know if it will happen. Oh yeah, how do you know that? You know, but these are like so vague things that could apply to anybody. They say, oh, it's something about your love life or this or that and other things, and they just know by reading people, but it's just general things that could apply to anyone, but it makes them, they're like a lot of them are con artists trying to take people's money and things like this, and it's not reality. Whereas there are some people who actually do know these dark arts and maybe can communicate with jinn. And I spoke before, one of my teachers was telling me the way they do these things is they one of the ways they disrespect the Holy Quran by one of the ways they would sit on it or they would do other things. And I told you someone was telling me about the magical thing, the spell or something they had put on them was slaughtering the animal in a haram way or to idol or something and taking that blood from that animal and doing some other things with it. It's all centered around haramat, you know, like forbidden things. So I think we ran out of time on this.